It's here. The 2023 NFL schedule is out, and the Bengals, well, I like their schedule. Let's go game by game. Maybe I'll play the schedule game and give my first win-loss prediction of the year. But let's react to the Bengals 2023 schedule. Hi again, everyone, and welcome in to Cincinnati Bengals Talk. I'm James Rapien of allbengals.com. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, ring the bell, and make sure you keep coming to this channel for the latest Bengals news. Happy Thursday night, where the Bengals, well, they just released at least their 2023 schedule, and we knew that they were going to play the Chiefs on New Year's Eve. And so that game you knew. There's been rumblings about different games, but now we have the schedule. And let's just start. I'm going to go game by game real quick with a thought or two, and then I'm going to give a win-loss prediction and play the schedule game for the first time. Of course, we'll give our final season predictions months and months down the road after camp and after the preseason, but why not have a little bit of fun? So the Bengals, they play the Packers, Falcons, and Commanders. Two of the three preseason games are on the road, followed by, really a fun, I think, opening month. And you start out by going to Cleveland. And if you're going to Cleveland and you have to go to Cleveland, you want to go in September because it's going to be a lot of fun to go to Cleveland. It's a drivable trip, real easy for Bengals fans to get to. I know there's been a lot of speculation about the Bengals playing the same time as the Reds. So the Bengals, well, they open up on the road in Cleveland on September 10th, 1 p.m. on CBS. One of just 6 1 p.m. start times as of right now, with the schedule dropping. The other, or the second one rather, is Baltimore the following week. So back-to-back division games, Baltimore at home. So you certainly feel good about that. Another 1 o'clock start. And then the fun begins. 8 days later, you get the Los Angeles Rams on Monday Night Football. Obviously, the Rams hoping to bounce back and be much more competitive than they were a year ago. Meanwhile, the Bengals, not that you can get revenge for Super Bowl 56, but it would probably be nice to handle business against the Rams in a regular season game there. And then back-to-back road games at Tennessee, which another drivable trip, another fun trip, in Nashville October 1st. That's pretty good. You're going to notice a pattern here when it comes to weather and where we're traveling to and my liking of it, because I like the idea of going to Tennessee in, say, October and being Nashville then versus a December game. That's a 1 o'clock game as well. And the Bengals really getting the 1 o'clock games out of the way. 4 of their 6 are in the first 6 weeks. And then they head to Arizona. 4:05 start, October 8th. October, maybe it's getting a little chilly here in Cincinnati. You head to Arizona, head to Phoenix. That sounds good to me. Followed by, and we'll see what happens with Kyler Murray. That's interesting too, because it's right around when he could come back if he's not back for the start of the regular season. Week 6, the Seattle Seahawks come to town. It's a really good roster. I think that's going to be an interesting game. Then you get a bye earlier than the past few years, Week 7 bye week. And then you hit the road again and you go to San Francisco. So 4 of their first 7 games on the road. And then, well, they bounce back. Sunday Night Football against the Buffalo Bills. Primetime makes a ton of sense at Paycor Stadium earlier in the season this year than it was last year, November 5th. And so that's a big game there, obviously, with Mike Tirico and Chris Collinsworth on the call. Houston comes to town the following week in Week 10. And then quick turnaround, Thursday night at Baltimore on November 16th. And that's a huge, huge game. But then you get the long layoff. And they come back home and they play another divisional game. The first time they play the Pittsburgh Steelers for the first time in 2023 on November 26th. And then another long layoff, another extra day. Monday Night Football against the Jacksonville Jaguars. Going to Florida in December, I will take that, even if it is northern Florida. You come back, Indianapolis at home. Then you have the Minnesota Vikings at home, Week 15. And then 2 of the final 3 on the road. At Pittsburgh on Saturday, which, sign me up for that. December 23rd, a Saturday game? Yes, yes. Sorry, man. It's Quinn's first Christmas. We don't want to go on the road for Christmas Eve, Christmas Day. I could drive back and be back for all of the festivities. So drivable game. You control your own destiny from a travel standpoint. You don't have to worry about flights getting delayed, all of those things. Feel pretty good about that. We talked about New Year's at Kansas City, and then Cleveland Browns the following week at home. And that could be a big game. And overall, I look at this schedule, and like I said, 4 out of 7 on the road at first. Okay, I get it. Like, that's not a huge deal. It's not like last year where it felt like they were on the road so much early on in the season. There's a little more balance there. But man, I look at it, and you could really, for the first time in, well, I guess they got off to a pretty good start. They got it off to a 5-2 start in 2021, and then they fell to 5-4 going into the bye. But this Bengals team could really get off to a good start. At Cleveland, Baltimore at home, the Rams, at Tennessee, at Arizona. Not saying any game is easy in the NFL, but those are winnable games. Home for Seattle, that's a winnable game. And part of the reason I feel that way probably has to do with that quarterback of theirs, Joe Burrow. You feel good about Joe Burrow against even a Deshaun Watson or a Lamar Jackson, certainly a Matt Stafford, who's a question mark at this point, Kyler Murray, Geno Smith, we'll see there, Ryan Tannehill, assuming he's still starting for Tennessee. So you feel good about those matchups. And so without further ado, just looking at it, I love the weather aspect of things, the fact that you're able to go to San Francisco at a time when if you're traveling with the team and there's a lot of fans that go on the road, that's a heck of a destination. October, Jacksonville in December, sign me up for those. Overall, I think it bodes well for the Bengals. I think that this schedule is favorable. And so let's play the schedule game. Let's go game by game if I had to make a prediction today. And I get it. It's silly and it could change, and there's a lot of things that could change. Well, guess what? That's why it's called the schedule game. So let's go. At Cleveland, Joe Burrow wins back-to-back games over the Browns. The Bengals start 1-0. Baltimore at home the following week. I think this one's a tough one because Lamar could be as healthy as ever. The Ravens are certainly going to look a little different. I'll give the Ravens the win here in a really close one. Bengals start 1-1. They have the extra day to play the Rams on Monday Night Football. I'll take the Bengals over the Rams. 2-1 on the season. Then you hit the road to play Tennessee. I think that'll be a tight one. Really well-coached team with Mike Vrabel. Still give the Bengals the edge. They improved to 3-1 on the season. And then they get to 4-1 the following week when they beat an Arizona team on the road that I think still rebuilding. I like some of the moves they made this offseason, but I just think they're still rebuilding. I think the Bengals are a much more complete team and handle business on the road. Speaking of complete teams, I think Seattle is a really good roster. Top to bottom, they're deep at the skill spots. I get it. It's Geno Smith. The Bengals have the edge there, and they have the better receivers. But overall, there's just a lot to like about this Seattle team. I think Seattle pulls off the upset, and the Bengals fall in that one to 4-2 going into the bye, which isn't ideal, and it's certainly not ideal because you have to go out to the Bay following the bye in Week 8 to play the San Francisco 49ers. They fall to 4-3. Similar to that 2021 start, they drop 2 in a row around the bye, fall to 4-3, close to 500, and that's when, much like last year, I think there'll be some doubter, some talk. The Bengals are 4-3. Buffalo's about to come into town. Man, what's going to happen? Sunday Night Football. The Bills probably have the better record at the moment. And I haven't looked at the Bills' schedule. I'm not going to lie to you. But let's just say they have the better record at the moment. Well, the Bengals handle business against the Bills. And then they welcome the Texans to town. And they beat the Texans. And then they get revenge against Baltimore 4 days later on the road in Baltimore to, well, not only win 3 in a row, get that sour taste out of their mouth, but now you look up and you're 7-3 and you're right where you want to be going into the final month plus of the season. And they keep it rolling. With Pittsburgh, I think they handle Pittsburgh in that first matchup before going to Jacksonville. And this one's going to be a lot of fun. I think the Jaguars are heading certainly in the right direction. We saw that last year. I think they take another step. This is going to be a huge game. I'll take Joe Burrow over Trevor Lawrence late. We've seen it multiple times now, and I think T. Higgins, Jamar Chase, they'll play big as well in that game, and the Bengals get it done on Monday Night Football. And then Week 14, it's the Indianapolis Colts at home, another game. Team that's retooling, trying to rebuild. I think it's a pretty good roster, certainly better than Arizona, but a game that you get. And so now you go from 4-3 to 10-3, and the Bengals are hot, much like last year. They get hot at the right time. They're 10-3. And it doesn't stop there. They win again and get to 11-3, winners of 7 straight games. And then it's a short week, potentially at least, against the Pittsburgh Steelers on the road. I think that Pittsburgh might get one. I don't know if you're sweeping them. So I'll have Pittsburgh. I have Pittsburgh winning that game, and the Bengals falling to 11-4 on the season. So 11-4. You have 2 games left at Kansas City, and then the Browns at home. I like the Bengals in both games. I do. I think the Bengals, they're going to be so amped up for that Kansas City game, and there's going to be a number 1 seed on the line. And so if you can get that and get that game, you put yourself in position to be the 1 seed because you would have the tiebreaker over the Bills. And so even though you're licking your wounds a little bit from that Pittsburgh loss, you have the extra day as well. I think they get it done. And then the following week, you clinch the 1 seed with a win over the Browns. I had the Bengals 13-4, really rolling in the back half of the year and handling business, winning 9 out of their last 10 to get to 13-4 after being 4-3 just 1 game after the bye. What do you think? Am I crazy? Last year, I didn't play the schedule game on schedule release day, but I said, they're going to win more games than they did in 2021 and discussed that 12-5 mark. Obviously, they were 12-4. And we know what happened there with 1 less game because it got essentially taken off the schedule with the DeMar Hamlin situation. So I think that this Bengals team, they could get to that 12-13 win range again. I have them at 13. And the reason I went with some of those games, I'm not going to overthink it too much, but like Seattle. Sometimes there's just a game that you overlook. Pittsburgh. Games that you overlook and you think, they're going to win that one. Like Pittsburgh last year, right? Like Cleveland, Monday Night Football last year, where you really can't explain it. That's me trying to get it right and see if I could predict the schedule months and months before the Bengals even get together for training camp. So we'll see what happens. Overall, though, I'm digging the schedule. I think the Bengals are set up for success yet again, and there's some really cool destinations, road destinations. Obviously, it's awesome watching games at Paycor Stadium, but road destinations that make a ton of sense. And I'm eyeing that Jacksonville game. I'm eyeing that San Francisco game, that Arizona game, obviously Nashville. Even Cleveland in September. Cleveland in September is fun, believe me. So there's a lot of fun games. If you've never watched the Bengals on the road, certainly have the opportunity, whether you want to drive and deal with some probably good weather in these AFC North cities or AFC cities, if you want to include Nashville in there, or if you want to go maybe a little bit farther and warmer, whether it's San Francisco in October or Jacksonville in December. You'll have those options. So loving the schedule. Hope you enjoyed this video. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, ring the bell. Check out Rivertown Inquiry and rivertowninquiry.com. And for Andrew Fox Miller, I'm James Rapien. Thank you so much for watching Cincinnati Bengals Talk.